Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of our Mental Health Awareness right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I am your host, Sara Troy, and my guest, a New Zealander that now resides in the US, is Michelle Hardwood Lange. Her daughter suffers from reactive attachment disorder. Now, I have not heard what that is, and we're going to find out what it's all about today. But the treatments that were advocated for were not treatments that Michelle wanted to go down the road with. So despite her daughter's disability, she decided to become a certified health and life coach to create a platform and a coaching experience for special need kids like her and their parents. And she's found her purpose to fulfill and understanding children and families, and in addition bringing support to the respite care of the parents that live through all of this on a daily basis. So let's discover what reactive attachment disorder is all about, and this journey that's taken Michelle, because it guided her. She had no choice in this. This was one that was given to her and said, by the way, this is your calling. This is your path, whether you like it or not, and here you go. So welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
I always say that there's something that taps us on the shoulders that puts us on our path. You know, this is the path you're meant to take, and it generally comes through some form of experience, whether it's our own personal experience or whether, as in your case, an experience of your child, and that's put you on the path of what you're doing here today. But what is this reactive detachment or attachment disorder? Because I'm not quite sure what it's about.
Reactive attachment disorder is a mental health disorder for children who have experienced extreme amounts of trauma. And what happens for them is they become disassociated from the relationships that they have in life, whether it be a parent or other family members or children. And how it manifests itself, it's different for every child. Particularly for my daughter, it's anger, it's distrust, and you have to understand what they've experienced in their eyes. People have come and gone. They've experienced an exorbitant amount of abuse type trauma in several different ways, and abandonment. And so for them to trust somebody who's caring for them is very difficult to see. And the lenses through which they see, they'll trust a stranger over them trusting you. So they become very agitated, disassociated with the world around them. And it's very difficult to know when they are going to have an episode, because it's very episodic. They can live very normal lives and from the outside in look like very normal children, but emotionally for them, a really brief explanation that would be more visual would be from the moment that they started to have the trauma to the moment that it ended, they're emotionally stuck in that world.
Yeah.
And when they start the healing process, they're still at the age that they began to have that trauma. So for them, it could be if it started between 2 and 4 and ended at 5, then their emotional mentality is at that 5-year-old stage. So for them to cope with life is not the same as anybody else. And they could be 9 when they get to a place of starting healing.
Yeah. I mean, you know, what is trauma? It is something that's happened to you at whatever particular age, and whenever you get triggered, you're going to go back to that space and time of when that trauma happened, no matter what age you are. So if it's happening to a child, then that child is going to go back to that space, and they're totally ill-equipped to deal with it, and they're not going to even remember any of the skills or the tools that they've learned further on and bring it back to that stage, because they're back there in the trauma. And that's why trauma is traumatic, because it takes you back there.
It does, every single day. It takes them there. It might be a word, a tone of voice, the way somebody looks. I mean, the other dynamic for kids like this is they suffer from PTSD as well.
Yes.
So for them, life is very, very different. And it boils down to how do you give them a message when you give them structure, discipline, and routine, which is very much core to and central to what these kids need.
Mm-hmm. Yes. May I ask how she came about this trauma?
She came about the trauma because her family life, her family dynamic was very dysfunctional. She had parents that were abusive and neglectful, and so the state stepped in and they became a ward of the state, and I was contacted to see if I would be able to help support these children. And it was a 4 to 6 year path that we've been doing this. I adopted her about 18 months ago, and we're on the path of healing and trying to find ways to manage her care, her trauma, as she tries to understand what's happening to her, which is very difficult for her. She's 9 years old now, and this started when she was 2.
And of course, when she's 2, there is no understanding what's happening to her. It's just the terror of what's happening to her. She knows it doesn't feel good and she doesn't feel safe, but she doesn't know why.
That's right. She doesn't know why. And even now, she still doesn't know why. Safety for her is just people being consistent in her life.
Yeah.
And understanding that there's something going wrong and trying to find the language to speak what's happening to her. And even then, that's difficult for her because there's something happening, Mom, but I don't know how to tell you. Sometimes I think it's for her, it's the other side of the trauma of being so scared that she's still in that moment that if she dares to say anything, we have to work through that process of her having courage and appreciation that there's somebody there to catch her and what she's feeling is okay and normal.
Right. Now, learning to trust Mom, especially a mom who's chosen her, who has come along realizing the risks and realizing what you're up against, but still has chosen her, at some point will register with her. But, she knows you're there for her. But, the handling of school, the handling of other kids, and we know that kids can be so cruel to one another. And, it can trigger at any time, a memory, a feeling that might not be anything to do with what happened to her when she was that young, but still it's the same feeling that's conjured up. How does she cope with things then? Or, you're not there. So that must be kind of rather worrisome.
It is worrisome, but what we've done is we've given her an opportunity to find coping skills that will, when she's having a difficult time, will help her to move away from having an event where she might be disruptive to other people, meaning she's going to get angry and upset because she doesn't understand what's going on. She's just having an event. She's having an episode. So that's when using alternative methods of care came in, because I didn't want to have her to just go pop a pill in her mouth.
No, that's just dumbing him down, isn't it? It's not deep to the root of the problem.
It doesn't get to the root of the problem. No. And when I started the journey of becoming a health and life coach, before that, even me taking that step of doing that, I was doing some research because I myself was wondering the question of how is it every time I start something new and I get excited about it, within about 3 weeks, there's what I now know is limited thinking. I knew it wasn't, I intuitively knew it was there, but how do I solve the problem? So I started doing research for myself and working on experimenting about what that was about and learning and growing through that. And I realized if the bottom line is subconsciously we have these memories, these principles that give us limited thinking, what could it do for my daughter? What could we do from the inside out? And I started to think differently about her healing process. We could heal her from the inside out. So I looked into tapping, I looked into positive affirmations and meditation with positive affirmations, so that when she gets to a place where it's difficult, she can tap in those areas where, one, it's not noticeable to anybody else,
right,
and it will help her to bring up her positive vibrations and feel comfort because of the affirmations we're getting her to tap through.
Right. And tapping is wonderful. It really is. And it is something you can do anywhere, anytime. And, you know, I've been in public where, you know, something has come on and I wanted to tap, and I kind of, you know, a little bit too much of this because I'm in a close proximity. So I did
Hmm.
it mentally. I did it in my mind, hitting all the points, and it calmed me right down. So tapping is really a wonderful medium. And, you know, for people who don't know about tapping, it's kind of hitting certain points and redirecting the language to the brain, which then calms the body down, which is a wonderful medium to do and can be done anywhere at any time. They don't need anything other than just hitting those points and speaking the language of tapping, which is addressing the problem and saying, although I have the problem, I'm releasing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it,
agree.
it's a really wonderful medium, and you know, as there are so many others, but that's a really good one to have. I've got a voice at the back of my head is saying sound therapy. Have you done sound therapy? You know,
Yes.
bowls, the tongs, the this and that, because that is also something that goes beyond the brain, you know, and goes deep into the psyche.
Yes, we're doing EMDR for her. At first, I wasn't a huge advocate for it because I didn't really understand um, how it worked. But
Mm,
once I started to delve into that, I'm a huge advocate for EMDR. Obviously, she's taking on board traditional therapies for her to release the pain that she's suffering every day. But there have to be other alternatives for her to utilize when she's having a moment. And like you said, when I'm not there, when she's at school, when she's with friends, if she's in a social environment, and of course with COVID, some of those things have
yes.
changed.
Hmm.
So, but we still need to encourage that we find alternatives for our kids that go through this
Hmm.
to be able to manage life, because there is a possibility at the end of the tunnel that they can heal and they can thrive and they can be adults who do amazing things. Aside from what she's experiencing, she's an amazing intuitive kiddo that I want to be able to let her have the opportunity to grow and flourish the way she's meant to. I mean, it boils down to the fact she wasn't given this. It was not hers to have, but
Right.
she has it anyway. So what do? We teach her about being positive, and we teach her about loving who she is.
Mm.
All of those really great coaching moments that we would do with an adult, we can do that with kids as well, and
Oh,
help
yes.
them to believe in who they are, because that is the other side of what you deal with children with reactive attachment disorder. Their self-esteem,
Yes, yes, yes.
it's
Uh,
not there.
no, and and that's, you know, if you were in a state of kind of flux or distrust or fear, you know, that fear breaks everything down. You know, it is the complete opposite to any form of creativity or positivity. Fear is incredibly a negative force. Now, I'm not talking about the fear sense of walking in front of a bus or walking in the middle of
Mhm.
of the highway. That's common sense fear. I'm talking about the irrational fear that is all consuming and kind of eats you, you know, from the gut, from the inside out. And there is no rationalization over it at that time. What you have to do is find the instrument that can turn the knob into a different frequency.
Exactly. And so when she's having a moment, we have to work really hard at shifting her brain
Mm,
and the frequency that she's at to get her to a space of feeling that calm and that peace. And it's multiple things. It might be tapping, it might be
mm,
deep breathing, it may be meditation. Like, I've noticed that when we put on her meditation that I have, and I just flip it onto my phone, she's now to the point where it's like, Mama, I need to listen to the meditation before I go to sleep.
yeah.
And they've got great positive affirmations that help her to grow confidence and love who she is.
I'd love you to listen to my Dawati shows. She teaches children yoga and meditative skills, and she has this wonderful music that goes along with it, that is designed for children and for teenagers, of the skills of being able to cope with anxiety or stress, you know, and find their center and find their space. So I'll send you the link, but that, I think you'll find some of her her techniques, and the music there is wonderful. I have nowhere near had that kind of stress growing up, or that trauma, but I went through some health traumas growing up, and some other things that have happened in my adulthood that it brings up a little post-traumatic stress now and again. You know, you get triggered, and leads to depression and anxiety, which is, as I said, you can't reason with it. You
No.
cannot reason with it. Snap out of it, go to hell. There is no snapping. If we could, we would. You know, it is literally having to change that frequency into something else. And for me, I've always found not only nature, because nature speaks to us on so many levels, but music has always been the one. And I've since learned that certain music resonates at higher frequencies. And those frequencies are the one that turn our frequencies over out of the stress and out of the trauma. So I'm a huge music advocate for anybody that's in stress, because I think it takes us out of the stress and puts us into a calmer frequency when sometimes it's difficult for us to do for ourselves. But I think that I've interviewed an awful lot of people as adults that went through an abusive, traumatic childhood. And, you know, one of them is Rob Shearer, and his parents died when he was 10. I mean, literally the parents would be drunk and playing Russian roulette, 3 kids kneeling on the floor with the gun saying, who should we kill first, Ma? You know, he was in that environment, sexual and physical and emotional and every abuse. And out of the 10 siblings, I think there only ended up being 2 or 3. The others took their lives and went down a different path. And so that inner strength, that inner connection with an intuitiveness, knowing that you are so much more than that, really needs to be flowered, doesn't it? It really needs to be nurtured and grown, because that is what's going to be their sanctuary. That is what's going to be their guidance forward.
True, I agree, because when I watch and observe, I mean, particularly when she's not thinking I'm observing, I notice, you know, there is this inner part of her that is intuitive enough to see when others are hurting, and reaching out to them, and that she has that capacity to love and care. The disruption comes from what she's experienced, and so we have to spend a lot of time, literally sometimes hands-on, you know, can I give you a hug? You know, for her, hearing somebody say, you know, I just want to let you know that you're amazing today. Yeah. You did a really great job. We spend a lot of time delivering messages to her, even when it's simple tasks. Yeah. It might boil down to, you know, when she's in a place where she's not following direction the first time, you kind of have to peel it back layer by layer and give it to her in a way that's loving, caring, and nurturing. And then it's followed with, you know, with understanding and empathy. Yeah. I get that you feel this way, sweetheart, but I really need you to go take care of this. Remember, we agreed that, you know, you needed to go take care of this chore. And we incentivize what's going on for her. We give her goals. We break it down daily. We break it down weekly. We break it down monthly. So she can track herself. She gets, I guess, the greatest part about children with reactive attachment disorder is the greatest thing that you can do is to empower them to have choices, because the reason they're there is that the reason they're having trouble, they didn't have any choices. So they feel that's taken away from them. So there's always in parenting a power struggle. So you have to give them opportunities to choose. And some think it's not about the delivery of the message, but truly it is. You have to deliver the message to them in a way that they feel empowered, that they feel appreciated, that they feel like what they're doing matters.
They're heard.
Exactly.
Heard. I mean, how many children go through, I don't feel listened to, I don't feel heard. You know, the old adage, children should be seen and not heard. Yet there are a lot of kids that still feel like that today.
They do, and you have to acknowledge their feelings. Like they could say, you know, I'm not comfortable with this. I mean, it could be as simple as, can you help me with the dishes, please? I don't want to. Well, why not? What's going on for you? You have to really listen and have a conversation with them. And if you would observe Peyton and I, it would seem like, you know, we're having very adult conversations. And that's because if you have to understand your kids that have reactive attachment disorder and what level they're at.
Yes.
So you know what kind of conversation to have with them. And she's very intuitive, and she's also experienced a lot of taking the adult lead as a little kid to take
Yes.
care of her siblings.
Mm.
And so she's still doing that adulting instead of the innocent childlike experience. So you have to coach them to go back to being a kid. And that, our phrase often is, hey, I need you to do you right now, which is being a kid and having fun.
Mm.
Let mom do mom and the adult thing. Here are your choices for today. This is what I want you to work on. And anytime they do anything that's of significance that shows progress and learning, you let them know, hey, you did a really great job at that. I
Mm.
loved how you helped me to problem solve. It's all about that conversation where you have empathy, understanding, and when they become, belligerent in their behavior, don't personalize it, because
Right.
it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about what they're experiencing in the moment. And it's really hard as a parent to not personalize it, because here's your kid and you think they're being very sassy, very cheeky, very disrespectful, but it's not. It's because you're giving them structure, discipline, and routine, the one thing that they want very much, but that's the very thing that they push hardest to push away.
Right.
I love you, but
Yes.
I don't want this, but I do want
Yeah.
this.
Well,
And then you see the progress,
oh
and
yeah.
it's difficult as a parent to, you know, not go, oh my gosh, I'm just not really doing a great job. What is wrong with me?
Mm.
But everything's right with you, because, in our team, I always hear often, you know, she loves you when she pushes you back so hard.
Mm.
She's really cares about you when she's trying to shift things more and more each day. That's her way of showing you love. It's not the traditional way
Right.
of what we see love as, because for them it's not. And over time, things will change. She will grow, she'll progress. And she has done that. She very much so. I mean, for her to come and get a hug, for me, that's like a 10.
Mm.
Because when
Yeah.
she was little, she never did
Right.
that.
Obviously, maybe physical abuse along the line there, in touch meant something else altogether.
It did, and
Yeah.
it still does.
You're right.
We still have to wade through the being intuitive and
Mm.
listening with our whole bodies.
Mm.
It's not just with our ears. We listen with our
Yeah.
eyes, we listen with our heart, we listen with our soul to each other, so that we can have those conversations and connect with each other, so that she feels like she matters, and it's not about her diagnosis, it's about her.
Yeah.
Always about her.
Right.
So my thinking, my drive is about creating a platform for these kids and their parents, because being a parent of a reactive attachment disorder child, it's not an easy job.
No. I mean, I had 3 kids, and when they hit the teenage years, I don't know if you ever saw The Exorcist, but the head spinning around, all of a sudden this cute, loving, huggy wuggy little child is defiant and pushing all the limits and pressing all the buttons, and just like, who the hell are you? They're going to test your limits, that's for sure. And for me, it's always, I'm going to always remind them where the edge is. And that if they walk that edge and they fall, that's their choice, if they're going to push those limits. But
Yeah.
as a parent, I'll be there to help them get back up. But they've got to understand, to read when to say no, or when that edge is there, and how to recognize it. And, we can't protect our children from everything that's going to happen to them in life, but we can prepare them for it. And the more that we instill not only I'll love you no matter what. It doesn't mean I agree with your choices or your actions, but I'll love you. It never should be a love as a punishment. I don't love you today because of this. Love should never come into that. Love is love. It's unconditional. But you can like and approve and disapprove of certain actions. And sometimes you don't have to say much. They used to say when mum went quiet and the eyes went up, that was enough. Whoops, mum's not saying anything. She's at her limit.
Yeah.
And I think very often when she's pushing you, she's looking to see where's your limit. you
She
know?
is. She knows my limits, but it
Mm.
goes back to, structure, discipline, and
Yeah.
routine. There are consequences. I mean, I have to think of her as this 9-year-old kid who's almost as tall as me, and she's in this body of a 9-year-old, but she's emotionally only 4 or 5.
Mm.
Pinching a fit, packing a wobbly, um, pushing boundaries, trying to see how far she can go. But you have to be consistent. You have to be a person of your word. If you say that you're going to do something, then step up and do it.
Yeah.
You have to teach them, here are the consequences, and empower
Mm-hmm.
them, and here is the rewards. You have to make a choice. And if you determine that your reward is X, like say she can go swimming with a friend because she did X, Y, and Z,
Mm-hmm.
and we've charted all of her chores and things that she has to do every day, then that's her reward that she gets. You have to set boundaries, like, here is our red zone. This is like non-negotiable things in our household. For example, safety and anger. Those are
Mm-hmm.
2 non-negotiable items. And if you hit the red zone, here are your consequences that you have to live through. And you own them. You have to teach them to take ownership and responsibility for the choices that they make. Sure, it sounds, very easy and simple, but it's not always
Mm-hmm.
easy and
No.
simple, particularly with kids with what she has, because for them, what they've seen and heard is, I don't have to take responsibility. I don't want to. I don't have to. Why should I?
Right.
And she's smart enough to know that she'll watch and trail through what we've done and what we haven't done. And she's always smart enough to figure out, well, how can I end around that?
Yes.
How can I negotiate that? And you
Very
have to
cunning.
really say, yes, very. You have to say, this is not negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
These benchmarks are not negotiable, and I'm not moving from them. And the difficulty in that is, as a parent, is that sometimes you have to make hard decisions about their care. Like recently for me, I had to decide at what point did I need to have other people step in, and did she have to have hospitalization for her dysregulation? And
Mm-hmm.
at what level was that dysregulation to a point that I needed to go get secondary help?
Right.
And you always have to have a safety plan. You
Yeah.
always have to have your team
Back up.
know and understand
Mm.
these are our benchmarks, that we have to do that work for us. Like, make phone calls with people to help her calm down when she's dysregulated. Talk to hotline people,
Mm.
professional therapists who can help with her dysregulation and calm her down. When we get to the point where there's several opportunities that have already risen up, what do we do next? And as a parent, it's difficult to say and go, okay, I have to be a woman on my word, because I agreed to the safety plan. The safety plan said my threshold was, when you get violent,
Mm.
when you hurt yourself or me, we have to get help.
Yeah.
And you have to follow through. And they look at you like, what are you doing? You don't
Mm.
love me anymore.
Right.
But
Mm.
I love you. You always have to reiterate a message,
Yes.
even in that moment where it's so chaotic. Look, sweetheart, I love you so much. I'm willing to get extra help to make sure both of us are safe, that both of us are in a space that we can still have conversations that are meaningful. And when we get to this place that we can't talk together, that we don't feel like we can be around each other, that's unsafe, especially when you want to lash out and be violent. And you can get kids with this reactive attachment disorder who get to that level, who get to the extreme. And it's because there's so much hurt underneath all of that. And you have to have safety plans in place. Parents have to go get respite care, which is a component that, those are the things that I'm working on, is creating a place that parents can come get respite care, where kids can come get respite care, because
Yeah.
there isn't enough.
No.
And I'm a single parent. So for me, it's like, well, I've got people on my list that I can utilize when I need to go take a break. And I want to say, we've gotten to this mentality that, parents don't get to take a break. And that
That's how you get burnt out and sick parents.
Yeah, and that we're not allowed to. And
Right.
I've heard a lot of that. And then I've also heard people, have negative talk about parents who do take a break. Oh, who do they think they are? They should just keep going. What's their problem? I'm sorry, but this world isn't made the way that it used to be. And our kids are dealing with different problems and issues. And it's best for us as caregivers to say, you know what? I need to walk away. I need to take a break. Because that's when you have a problem. That's when you get child abuse. That's when you get all of these socialized behaviors that say, you know, we can do this. We can get angry. We can get ugly. No, we need to teach each other, parents and children alike, to step away. Take a break. Take a self break. Take a day break. Take some sort of break where you are away from the situation. And while you're in that break, be creative. Talk to somebody. Figure out what the problem is. So I'm building a platform where eventually I'm going to create a respite care center that encompasses art, literature, music, all of those things that are simple and can provide an opportunity to be creative, where parents and children can come. They need a break.
Yes.
It's a place that they can have a therapist there if they need to. I mean, if they're on the edge and they just are distraught, but they need somebody to talk to, but they don't want to be at home and do that. I want to build a facility that enables them to be able to come, relax, rejuvenate. You know, it's like a mental day spa.
Hugely, 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 hugely necessary. You know, it's, you know, I mean, I was a parent of 3, and trying to get any kind of time to yourself, because I had a husband who was working all hours and not that reliable when it came to kind of backing up or giving me some break. So I know what it's like to kind of feel overwrought and even burnt out. And we just need sometimes to step away and take a breath. You know, that time to nurture yourself, so that you can come back not in the state of flux, but in a state of calmness to deal with the situation. But I think it also teaches the children that, okay, Ma needs a break. Ma needs time for herself, and learn to respect that. Otherwise, as a case with me, they always knew Mum was there. So it didn't matter what they did with Mum, Mum was always there. So that means that there isn't the respect for Mum, because she'll be always there no matter what. And if they know, no, I'm taking a day off. I'm taking a day off and going to do something for me. Then it's that respect that you need time off. It's not just them that needs time out. You need time off. And they become more respectful of it. So I think it's absolutely massive. And you know, one of the things I used to do with my kids when I found tensions really going on, I used to put on Queen, We Are the Champions of the World, and all of us screaming, singing it, and dancing.
Yes.
And it's kind of redirecting that energy into something.
Yes.
Right?
Agree.
And at the end of it, we're all laughing. And we've changed that vibration again. And having a place where they can come to, where whatever they need, whether it's the therapy or whether it's calm music or dancing music or art, it's something that where they can express themselves through a different medium that's not the burden on the parent.
No, it's not. And that's the whole idea, is breaking away from that thinking and that parenting skill set where we think we have to do everything and Mum's always there. No, you know, I've talked to a lot of parents and observed and found that, you know, parents need to take a break, and kids need to know that parents have a life outside of them.
Yes.
That we love them, we appreciate them, we champion them. But Mum and Dad, guess what we were before we were parents? We were just people.
Yes.
So we need to get back to, and it's a great way for us to identify how we can get back to our own selves. Because often we get so busy, we forget who we are, we forget what we're doing, we're raising our children, we're having a career, we're doing all of that lot. And that's great and wonderful. But how do we get back to ourselves? How do we get back to, you forget to do that. So this is an opportunity to say, okay, I'm taking some respite care, I'm taking a break, and I'm getting back to myself. And so these centers will be places where people can do that. They get back to themselves, they find the help, they find the way to be creative, to literally get respite. And respite isn't just about, oh, I'm just going to go take a rest, maybe a day in a hotel is going to work. No, it's much, much more than that. It's, yes, sleeping, eating properly. It's tuning,
Massage.
yes, all of those things. A
Yes.
massage, candles, a great meal. It's relaxing. It's tuning off the media.
Yeah.
It's tuning off the sound. It's maybe learning something new, getting in touch with, going, sitting in a garden and just being still,
Yeah.
being quiet,
Hmm.
and meditating. Maybe it's yoga for some people.
Yeah.
Maybe it's physical activity. I'm just going to go hit the gym. I'm going to go do
Mm.
something. But it would be a center where you have a few things, because you can't please everybody,
No.
but you have a few intrinsic things that are meaningful that would help people to shift their vibrations. And the great thing about it, I was thinking as I was developing this idea is, you know, it would be a place that you could go to anytime, because
Right.
things
A
happen.
drop in. Drop
A
in.
drop-in,
Yeah.
yes, a drop-in place. Things
Yeah.
happen. I mean, you could stay or you could just drop in because you just, had a rough day at work and you
Mm.
don't want to go home and carry that.
Right.
You don't want to,
Or
you
you've had
don't
a
want,
rough day at home.
yes, or you've had a rough day at home,
Yes.
and you want to just, come away and say, look, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
How am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Such and such isn't open. I really want to go there. I mean, I just want to sit and have a Zen moment and just chill out.
And that's the thing, if you make it that it's only by appointment, then the moment is past. You need to address the moment. And if the parent
You
is
do.
feeling stressed out, and then if that's the moment they need to say, we're going to the center, you're going to go over here, I'm going to go over there. There was another wonderful gentleman, a veteran that I interviewed, who did something wonderful. He was actually a war junkie. He kept going back because he never knew how to come back and integrate back into society. He was always
Mm-hmm.
in the adrenaline. And somebody introduced him to yoga. And now he has this yoga
Mm-hmm.
platform for the people who come back, the service people, veterans, with their families. And they all do yoga together. And what happens is they all come out on the same vibration. And now that's when the communication can be spoken. So it's not like one doing it and the other one still tense at home. The whole
No.
family does
Yeah.
it, putting everybody on the same frequency. So I think
Mm-hmm.
the more you can also get kids and parents doing things together
Yes,
and
it
then
was
being able to
holistic.
talk about it, I think
Mm-hmm.
is an excellent idea.
Yeah, and that was a holistic approach,
Yeah.
is the whole group, the whole, because,
Mm.
if you're going to change the rules of engagement, everybody has to know and understand what the rules are so they can engage.
Yes.
So if everybody's doing something together and they understand what's happening for that member of the family, then they're all being able to move in the same direction with the same vision. Because you cannot heal just one person, you have to heal the whole group.
Yes.
Like for Peyton, if she's not doing well, then I have to make sure I'm whole too.
Yes.
And I have to heal too. So we both come together, and this platform that I'm creating is all about a holistic approach to the whole group, the
Yeah.
whole tribe of family, not just one person. Mum needs a break, well, the kids need a break too. Let's all take a break so we can come together and have a conversation. And you can have conversations once you've broken away from that moment where things are
Yes.
very, very stressful. You're right. You're correct. There's only one way to do it, is just change those vibrations.
Yeah.
It's very, very important, because while you're up here
Mm-mm.
and they're very high, nothing is achievable. Nothing works. All it does is create more havoc, more stress.
And the wrong words and actions coming out.
Exactly. And so we have to find a way that, as parents in our house communities, our family communities, to find a way to work past those stresses that we're experiencing and get the help and support that we need. It's very important that we have a different way of dealing with it.
Well,
No longer.
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
They're talking about defunding the police right now and putting more money back into community, where communities, they're looking after each other. What you are proposing here is, I think, a root base of that type of program that's needed out there. Because if parents are being supported and the children are being supported, that means they're going to grow up to be better adults. parents aren't going to split or, you know, be burnt out or have their own health issues, which is extremely common. And we're not going to be in such a dysfunctional society. So I think, you know, a lot of the funding should go into community centers and organizations like this in communities that are there to support people at the root of the situation, instead of waiting for the situation to get out of hands and then, you know, guns are brought in. So, you know, it is the stitch in time. So support the families, support the children, be there. For goodness sake, for how many thousands of years was it a village brought up the children?
It was.
And
Thousands of
where are
years it
we
was a
now?
village.
Where are we now?
We're
You're on
not.
your own, mate.
Yeah, you are. You're very much on your own, mate. And I've seen that over the years that, you know, coming from New Zealand, it's very much community-based.
Mm-hmm.
Very much the tribe, literally the tribe helped raise the children, but they still bring the tribe. Your extended family is very much at the root of community
Mm-hmm.
and how you deal with life. But somehow we've forgotten how to continue to let family be at the core of our communities.
Yeah.
And if we don't fix at the core our family structures, our family well-being, our family socialization, we're going to disappear.
Yes. We're going to obliterate ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
It's what we're seeing so much. I mean, you know, I'm a divorcee, and we're seeing so much today of families breaking up. And, you know, I was the fortunately stay-at-home mom, although I did try doing a few businesses as well at the same time. But it was the role of the children was on me. Right.
Yes.
And eventually I ended up, through the stressful marriage and through the raising and doing all of that, ended up sick. And then, but I couldn't be sick because there wasn't any time to be sick. And also, you also felt a little bit of shame for being sick because you couldn't manage everything. You're taking everything in, and now it's manifesting in an illness.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And well, what's wrong with you? You know, exactly. Oh, there must be something wrong with me. Instead of, no, I was saturated. With everything coming at me from every angle, I was saturated, and I got to a point I couldn't deal with it anymore. The body broke down.
It does.
As the body will.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we waiting for people to get to that stage?
We can't. We can't wait for that anymore. We have to create funding. We have to create initiatives that enable parents to be parents and cope with what we have in life right now. We can't wait till there's a catastrophe or a child dead or a parent hurt before we say, okay, we need to get help. We need to be doing it now. At the core level of the family, we have to look at those structures and say, what do families need?
Yes.
And it's not just traditional families. It's families that at any kind of nomenclature that you want to call it.
Right.
Single parents, gay and lesbian parents, just people who are families.
Yes.
We are all people, and we
love community. Yes.
We love communities, and we need to, instead of dispersing into different groups, just say, look, at the core, we're human beings. Mm-hmm. We all need help. We need love. We need support. How do we get that?
Yeah. How do we do it for each other?
How do we do it for each other?
So how do you build that community? And the thing is that, you know, in having a kind of a center like that, you've got plenty of people that have specialized in their field.
Exactly.
Right. And now they can come together under this one umbrella and cohesively work together. You know, they can say, you know, I've got a child or a parent over here, and I think it would serve better if you could help her out. And then that's the way it goes. But I also think it should be free.
Yes.
Because how many times do we see people never getting help because they can't even afford to put food on the table, never mind go and get any help?
Yeah, and those are things that I've thought of too, is, you know, a not-for-profit organization where people, doesn't matter where they are in life as far as their income and threshold or socioeconomic environment. And you're right, socioeconomics has a lot to do with whether they get help.
Yes.
And that cannot be a player in this game, because people need help and support. And those are the things that I've thought of. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's not something I want to have played out as I build this. Is money is not something that should be a part of why people get services or not. Money is a foundation to which we can build, to utilize, to create.
Yes, it's the tool. It's the work. It's the fuel. It's the fuel.
It is the fuel.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, here's an idea. I've interviewed so many people with beautiful foundations and nonprofits, etc., that are working in different fields. How would it be to actually work with each one of these nonprofits that collectively come together to form this umbrella?
You're so amazing. I'm, oh my gosh. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, as I've developed this idea for the last 2 years, little things have come together. And one of them was for this project was, well, we need subject matter experts who all come together to make this happen, where we utilize resources. And what has, you know, the universe has thrown out to me lately is, why are we not utilizing what we already have?
Yeah.
We have to utilize what we already have in existence and come together and create this platform where everybody who, I don't want to reinvent the wheel,
No.
but I do want people who
utilize the wheel.
Yes, utilize it, who are subject matter experts who can come together and say, look, we have to pull all these resources together. And I think that was, for me, you know, as a single parent, you know, without labeling myself, but truly that I am.
You are.
But
You are
as far as trying to get resources, that is honestly the most difficult challenge, is getting resources together that I need to help my daughter. And how do I do that? Well, I talk to lots of people, I ask lots of questions, and then I started noting, well, for this over here, I need to go talk to this person. For this problem, I need to go talk to this. How come we're not coming together and saying, putting these all together in one house, and utilizing them and passing it out to those who need it?
You know, what's coming to mind, because you've got the juices going now, is you can have a twofold. You can have a virtual, you know, for somebody who just can't get down to anywhere, but be able to get online and go to the virtual platform.
Yes.
You know, I'm just needing help right now.
Yep.
Right now. And
now.
Have this umbrella. They literally then get on Zoom talk. They can record it so they can listen back to it.
Yes.
And just have that guidance, whether it be the child or the parent or caregiver, whoever it is, right? But also, an awful lot of these nonprofits aren't just working in one bubble. They have people that are working everywhere.
They do.
For them to find somebody in your area that is doing that under the nonprofit, and that nonprofit contributes this much, and another nonprofit contributes that much with the expertise, all you're looking for is the building in which to house it in.
Yep.
Now you go to the city and say, I've got all of this. We need a premises. This is the benefits of what we're seeing. It will cut down crime.
Yes,
it will cut down it will probably cut down suicide. It will cut down an awful lot of people just being dysfunctional in their own lives. I can tell you from the shows that I've done, and being a spiritual counselor myself, the biggest problem I ever find in people is the little child inside that was neglected.
It's true. It's very, very much true. And there's the biggest reason why I'm doing this is because I see my daughter, and I don't want her to get to that place as an adult where she's this little child still that's not flourishing, that didn't heal. And then I see, you know, that there are kids who grew up that way. And how
too many kids. Too many.
And there are children out there who are growing up like this. And we need I mean, you know, I was thinking, you know, when you talked about resources and not-for-profit, I thought, well, why can't I just go talk to big brothers and big sisters, and then maybe I could talk to the Habitat of Humanities to go build a building, and then we could utilize some of what they do and put it in here so that we can all come together. There's lots of foundations out there, and we just need to come together and say, look, this is what I'm doing, and collaborate together. And this is what's needed right now. I mean, with COVID, with, you know, the increase in domestic violence alone, you know, I know the UK recently did an ad that was posted on LinkedIn, and I looked at that ad and I went, this can be prevented.
Yes.
There has to be an outlet where people can press a button to get to somebody, to have a conversation, to de-escalate the moment, to get some relief. You know, like I was thinking, like, we could create partnerships with people who can, You know, like sort of like the big brothers, big sisters concept. You know, what about companions for mums and dads to go
Yes.
help them? You know, respite
Grannies.
care, grannies
Grannies.
and
Grannies and grandpas.
yes, grannies and grandpas to help
Yes.
kids and
Yeah.
mums and
Yes.
intervene in that moment where you can pick up a line and say, look, I need a, and it doesn't cost anything.
Right.
You know, volunteer to help alleviate the stressor that's going on. Don't be judging of what's happening
Yeah.
for them. You know,
Judgment, I'm
just
sorry, is a password. We're
yeah,
not interested in that at all.
no, we don't. Just
Yeah.
get in there and help them to be able to find that peace. Because in a moment's notice, and we all read it in the news, in a moment's notice, anything can be prevented.
Yeah.
And who wants another fatality?
Right.
Nobody does.
This is also going to go under our Forgotten Children series. And I was doing a show there with a foster mum. And she came up with a statistic that horrified me. And that 70% of the people incarcerated were foster children.
Yeah, agree.
And they're just products that have just moved, you know, passed from one to the other, and they feel worthless.
They do.
Yeah, and like Rob Shear is you know, the guy that went out there, his parents then became a foster child. And he's a gay white guy who he and his husband adopted 4 black children. So, you know, in North Carolina. So you know what he went up against. But he started comfort cases. So, you know, this is something I can see as being a wonderful synergy. The comfort cases are for foster children to have their own backpacks, their own cases. And the organization now is growing even more in even more diverse ways. Yeah. And this came about from someone who saw the need. You see the need. The best programs out there, the best solutions out there are from people who are living through it and see what is needed, not from the top down or some management. It's got to be from the people going through it, you know, and this is what we need to resolve this or to support this or to prevent this, and getting all of those people together under one umbrella and saying, what can we do? This organization, that organization, this organization, and let's Lego it. Let's slot it all together.
Yeah, we need to Lego it and slot it together and create this, because it's very much needed. You know, it was needed 10 years ago. It was needed 15 years ago.
It was needed 50 years ago. I mean, you know,
it's been needed all the time.
Yeah.
And yet we socialize ourselves, particularly mothers. Dads go out to work, and mum has to handle everything, no matter what. And she has to be strong. And it's just like your example of your life experience. I mean, I was socialized that way too. You know, what's wrong with you? Just get in there and get it done. Come on now.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly seeing the shift, you know, with my mum. You know, periodically she'll call me. She goes, you know, I'm kind of worried. You know, because it used to be, come on, you can do this. There's nothing wrong with you. You know, you got this. Come on. You know, buck up. Stiff up a lip. Hey, well, come on. You know, that sort of language, you know. And now it's like, I think I want you to be making sure that you're taking care of you, that your mental acuity is there, that you're taking a break. And the other thing that we have to teach parents is go get help. Go ask for help.
It is not a weakness.
It's not.
It's a strength.
It's a strength. Go ask for help. If you have to cry and you need a place to do that, go find a friend. Go do it.
Yeah.
It's not a weakness. It is a strength to say, look, I'm at my peak, people.
Yeah.
And I need to go get help. I need to go talk to somebody. I need some respite care. I need a break. I need a weekend away. That is not a weakness in any way. It is a strength to empower yourself to take care of you. Because if your kids don't see you taking care of you, I mean, look at the whole structure of what we've been talking about.
Right. Repeat.
Yeah. And we're teaching, if we say that we need a break and we create a facility that's free to give parents a break, what are we teaching our kids? We're teaching them to take care of them.
Yes.
To be mindful.
Yes.
To have mindfulness.
To have a self-value and a self-worth. To have a boundary ourselves. Right? And you know, this is something we talk all the time about. How can you give if you're empty?
It's true. How can you?
If you are depleted, this is where the problems happen. When people are overwhelmed and they feel alone and they're depleted, then the shame and the blame comes in, right? And the lack of resources, the lack of money to support. I mean, I've actually got a foundation that is going in the works. It's been prevented by COVID, but it's my blueprint. And one of the things is I have mentors here on the Self-Discovery Media and Self-Discovery community.
Mm-hmm.
Those mentors' services are there to serve people and whatever their
Mm-hmm.
expertise is. But we will raise funding through podcast books, through donations, through various other means, and that money will go to subsidize the cost of the mentors for people who are at that crossroads in life. What is the first thing that hits somebody?
Money.
It's the lack of money.
Yes.
It's not necessarily the lack of people out there that can help them. It's the lack of money and the resources to go there.
You're incredible. Oh my goodness. Yes, I've thought about those things too. Like, for instance, my Unsung Heroes blog about giving back and talking about unsung heroes, my connections on LinkedIn and how they have come to inspire me, but how I feel that what they do on a very core, down-to-earth level in celebrating and champion who they are.
Yes.
I started that blog as a give back to be creative, because when things get difficult, it's either art or writing for me. So I started that blog of Unsung Heroes, and I'm talked about mental health with Glenn Marsden and his Imperfectly Perfect. And then there's Garrett Hardy and his app that's got is very innovative, and it's about utilizing properties that are already out there for monitoring where somebody's at and giving support people warnings of where they're going.
Right.
So that platform there, in addition to what my core passion is that we've been talking about here, I've been thinking in the last few days, well, I can monetize that to get funded, to create funding. Like, I'm in the process of designing a logo for Unsung Heroes, and I'm going to use that to create swag and t-shirts to sell about unsung heroes. So those who participate in the Unsung Hero blog and I interview and talk to them, I will give them a gift. And then they can talk to other people about how that is, but then we'll have t-shirts and it's a ripple effect. And then that way we'll get some funding, create funding, and that funding is going to be utilized. And it's funny you said what you did, utilized to help other people.
Right.
Either to grow the respite care or to help people who need assistance.
Yes.
It's not going to be doing anything but that. And it was funny, I thought about that this morning before, when I was getting ready to talk to you. I'm like, what do I want to talk about? What's really going on for me? How is that meaningful for me? And I'm like going, this is important. This is, where is the core of what goes wrong? Money.
I'm afraid it is. It is. We have gone and put all the value on money and power.
We have.
And what have we seen? A whole load of ivory towers that are crumbling. And what are we seeing is the rest of the people destitute and left behind. And I've had the honor of interviewing an awful lot of business people who are now teaching companies and organizations and governments to put people, planet before profit.
Yes.
And when you do that, when you invest in the people to be all that they are meant to be, you're creating a beautiful instrument in that person. And then they go to look for their orchestra. And that orchestra resonates out with such a beautiful vibration. It invites other people in.
It does.
Investing in people is where we need to be. Investing in the planet, which is one of the greatest gifts as human beings we have received.
Yes.
Right? And looking at profit as being the abundance and the enrichment of mankind, of life kind, all life on planet, right? And looking at money as devaluing it as a power. It is a tool.
It is a tool.
It's the fuel in the car, but it doesn't define where the car is going.
No.
How you use your vehicle and for what is how you use the vehicle. The fuel in it doesn't have, well, it can tell you your distance, but it doesn't decide, well, you're going here or you're going there.
No.
Right? It's purely fuel. Money is fuel. And we have plenty of rich people out there that it's time that they spent their consciousness, which is invest in the structure that is needed to empower people, not power of one person, empower people.
Yes.
To be all they're meant to be, to build community and society in a way that is going to be fruitful to each other.
Yes, because if you break down the family unit, you're going to break down the community.
Yes.
And if you don't teach people to empower themselves and to be empowered, the very thing that those people have got rich from is the people that are working underneath them. And a great leader will see the good in his people,
Yes.
and he will help them to grow. He will get down in there beside them, and he will roll his sleeves up, or she will roll her sleeves up, and she will work with them and say, look, I don't know all the answers, but I know so-and-so over on that team over there, they've got an answer, and I want to hear what they have to say. Take on board those questions and answers and help people to grow and be the best, because it's already there, but do we encourage them to bring out that best? No, we don't.
No, because it's competitive.
It is.
I've got to be the boss.
Yes.
The best leader is those that makes leaders in other people.
Yes, agree.
Right? You know, the best leadership you can have is to bring out that leadership in anyone.
Yes.
And, you know, when you walk into a business, if it's dirty and scruffy, do you want to do business with that person? The janitor is the most important person on first appearance.
It is.
Right? Because if that place isn't pristine, you're going to think, well, they don't care. So they're not going to care about my business. So, you know, one thing about COVID, what it's done right now, it's shown us the people that are really the true heroes.
Yes.
Right? Parents who are having to teach their kids at home are respecting teachers a great deal more.
They are.
Right? We're respecting the medical community a great deal more. We're respecting the people who work at the grocery stores, that drive the buses, that drive the trucks, that pick up the garbage. All of those people that were low income, low people. No, they are now our heroes. They've been working all the way through this. And that respect level needs to change now, because we've been living in the wrong gratification. We've been worshiping those Twilight Zone people who are so disconnected, and they're not the power. They're only the power if we give it to them. If we empower each other, it is more balanced, and it's more encompassing, it's more loving.
It is. I have to agree with that. We have to do that, which is, you know, back to my hashtag, kindness grows kindness. How else do you do that?
Yes.
You grow your vibrations, you give kindness, it grows kindness, because, you know, it's like that 80s movie, pay it forward.
Yes.
You know, you think we could have learned something from that movie where we'd be in a better place now, but no, we social ourselves to that media is the top, that you have to look like this, you have to make this much money, you have to be educated this way. But no, at the core of who we are human beings, and we need to be kind to each other. We need to change that, you know, one is not better than the other. And that we have to empower ourselves to be powerful and not give it away.
An orchestra is not one instrument.
No, it's many.
And there's not one instrument over another. It may have a solo in that particular piece, but the triangle is just as important in certain pieces. And the conductor isn't higher than anyone. The responsibility of the conductor is making sure that that music is cohesive and harmonic, that goes out in synchronicity. And so you'll always have people who have that ability to conduct, or to find those people that have the right instrument for the right orchestra. And I think kind of one of those people that brings those people together. But it's up to each and every one of us to be the solution. As I've said, virtually every show, sorry folks, if you've been listening to all my shows, it's the same statement I say all the time. We're at a stage where the universe is waking us up to shake us up, for us to step up and change it up. We've been woken up, we've been shaken up, and at the present moment, we've been invited to step up. And the stepping up is like, we know what is wrong. How are we collectively going to come together to put it right and change it up? The invitation is there to step up, but you can't step up and be part of the solution until you are a solution unto self.
Agree. You have to work from inside you, change you first, and then work on your family dynamics and then go change the community.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah,
don't change
don't bring,
you,
you're bringing the dysfunction to the
you
table.
are.
We don't want
You
that.
are.
We've
No.
had enough of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to change within yourself, your direction, your limited thinking, your outlook, your perspective. All of those things have to change within you, and you have to want to do it and work on it every day, and not understand that just because you had one mindset today doesn't mean to say it's going to be that way. It is a consistent commitment to work on yourself and to grow and to give, because it's like having dirty feet and stepping into the bathtub that's dirty.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So we have to make sure that if we're stepping in, that we have moved off those things that would dirty the water, because you're not going to improve anything if you're not taking care of you and growing yourself and being able to deliver a message that is authentic and true if you don't really believe it.
Right. And stop putting you as a responsibility on everyone else. Participate in your own life, in your own healing, in your own caringness, in your own kindness. When you learn to care for yourself and be kind to yourself, you start raising that frequency. And that kindness is just one below love. Right? When you step into that kindness and you share that kindness, you are that kindness. You're kind to you, you're kind to everyone around you. You are now in that loving vibration. And that loving vibration, you can't go and do anything harmful to anyone else knowingly.
No,
and
can't.
You're in a frequency that literally aligns your whole body, and it is an energy that begets an energy. And so we're having to turn the frequency up on everyone right now. And this is what's been happening. You know, I'm an intuitive and an empath. And I've been saying for quite a long time now, they've been turning the volume up on us every year. The volume this year was mega. And only those that are willing to hear it and willing to rise up to it are going to survive it. And there will be some people left behind. But that is the choice that we make as individuals. Do we want to be part of the problem or still part of the suffering? Or do we want to be part of the solution and first heal ourselves so we can bring that gift to other people?
I agree. And
life is all about service, isn't it?
It is. And this morning I wrote a post on LinkedIn, and what it talked about was how we hear the message. You know, are we so busy and frantic in the noise? Are we just engaging in the noise? And how do we stop the noise? And how do we take enough time for ourselves to hear the message? Because there is a message to be heard, you know? And when I wrote that, it was like, I was watching something on Facebook that an aunt sent me. And it was about different women characters in the Bible and what message they brought. And I just watched it quietly. And then it dawned on me, there's a message there for me to share. And the message was, you know, as a community, as people, we're going to hear messages of inspiration and love and caring from all kinds of people. We're going to learn lots of things from all over our communities, from all over the world. And we're going to take a little bit here and a little bit there. And sometimes there's an important message we need to hear. And it won't be from a traditional place. But if we're too busy in the noise, are we going to hear that message of what we have to do? And the universe is speaking to us. So for me, it was sharing, you have to get to that quiet place where you listen with your whole body. Yeah. Where the noise is stopped and you're taking a moment to just be, so that you can hear the message and follow through. You
get
have
out
to
of your head.
Get out of your head. Yeah. You know, have to hear it. Mind, heart, soul, you know.
It's actually the other way around. No, it's actually the other way around.
Heart, mind, soul?
No, soul. Soul, heart, spirit, mind. When you listen to the soul, that's the divine channeling that is coming through to you. It resonates with the heart. The heart makes that connection. The spirit now wants to get into action, and the mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. This is data. This is programming. This is information. But it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have up here. If you do not have the wisdom to know how to use that knowledge, it's unproductive. The wisdom comes from channeling that divine presence of information that resonates with your heart. It doesn't have to articulate. It knows. It goes to the spirit. Now I'm in actionism. And the mind will know how to use this wisdom and put it into action. But we always think it's
That's
from the
how it
head
works.
down. It isn't. It's get out of your head. Listen to your gut, your
Mm-hmm.
heart, your spirit. Let
Yeah.
that tell your mind what it needs to know. Because the mind is a programming, and we know that there's bad programming in there. And we can go to but, or what if, or I can't do that, or I'm not worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And we get caught up in that stupid cycle like a treadmill. So it is listen to the soul, the heart, and the spirit. It is so overwhelming, that beautiful knowingness. And the mind will know what it needs to know. And how do you know that? I don't know. I just know.
Exactly. That was me this morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get in touch with here. Your
Yes.
heart.
Yes.
Your heart will feel it, and your soul will, and see, and I didn't know the order. I just knew I had to do it.
Yes. Yes. A lot of people think we're head down. We're not. This is the last piece. All your mind has to do is get out of the way and invite. We are all channelers. We are all open to that frequency. And anytime we need to know, ask the universe. And the universe will come and give it to us, but they're not going to give it to our head first.
Got it. Which is why I feel things.
Yes, feel your knowledge, don't think it.
Yeah, which is why I feel things deep to the core of my soul.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then my head's like, oh, just go.
Yep. You got it. That's it.
And now that explains it. I didn't even know what it was. I just followed it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did. You allowed, you followed. And that's one of the other things. If you stay stuck in the head, you want to analyze it, articulate it. What does it mean? And you're stuck in that. When you actually have the intellect of the soul, heart, and spirit in the equation, you know, you don't need that. It just is. And when we actually understand everything is just is in the now, in the moment, the gift of the present is in the now. Right? And trust the now. Whatever information you're giving, if it doesn't make sense at the moment to you, it doesn't matter. It will as you progress with that knowledge.
You're right. It does progress.
It takes you where you need to go because you're allowing it. You're going with the flow.
You're right. You do have to invite it in. You very much do.
And
you
when
have to be awake to hear it.
Yes, yes. And allow, you know, the soul cannot be heard if the heart isn't open.
Wow, that's so amazing. I love how that sounds. And you know, when you said that, for me, it's very much true of, you know, for reactive attachment disorder children. They're very much, you know, in this light of this conversation, they're very much head oriented. So you really do hands-on, day-to-day get in touch with their heart and their soul. Yeah. And they come back to you when you can reach their heart and soul. And I've noticed that with my daughter, that in the moments where her head is just
spinning out of control,
if I can get to her to touch her heart and her soul, she comes back and it's like, I'm here, Mama. And
see, she intuitively knows where she needs to be.
She does.
This is the old programming.
It is.
It is. Trauma is old programming.
It is.
And, you know, we get triggered into that old trauma. And it's like, well, what the hell are you doing here? I got rid of you. And that's the way to look at it and say, this is not me anymore. You know, my youngest daughter, when she was young, could not sleep in her own room or in the dark. I'd find her, put her to bed and find her on the floor next to me, you know. She just was absolutely petrified, and she was a defiant little creature in the day, so confident, but at night, no. I took her to a past life regressionist who found out that she had been abandoned at least twice in her life, and that she had been in a pipe at one point in the dark, and somewhere else she'd been abandoned. And when she came out of it, I said, do you remember what was said? She said, yes. And I said, then that is not you. You can let that spirit know now that it is no longer alone. And this is not you. You don't need to be afraid, because this isn't happening to you now. When she went to sleeping in her room with the light on, and not long after that, sleeping in her room in the complete dark. And I think a lot of the time what we don't realize, we don't just have the trauma of what happens to us in the now. We have the trauma that happens in our DNA. What happened to the parents? You know, because often something that happened to the parents, they will repeat on their own children unknowingly, and the trauma carries on. But you've also got to understand it's also past life trauma that hasn't been released. So it's not always in the moment. So if you can intuitively ignite the soul and the heart into the question, that could be the healer of past trauma. and they can learn to let it go.
They can. And
So
I
that
think
intuition is really important.
yeah, and I think there's that conversation and that language with my daughter that says, this is not you.
Yeah.
And I intuitively have said things, you know, this is not you, this is not your life, this is us now.
Yeah.
This is your past. I think when we break down that barrier, we will have a major breakthrough.
Right. Right.
And I think that's very important for the care of these kids is helping them to understand that this is not them.
Yeah.
So there's so much more than what their experience is, but for them as little ones and what's in their head, it's very real.
Oh yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
real and very significant.
Real.
And it
very, very, very real. And the thing is, they go back to that, and it's letting them know that is what happened to you. It is not who you are.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't define who you are.
It makes you stronger.
It does.
Right.
And that you are strong, because look at where you've come. You have to always every day have a conversation about their progress, and I'm noticing that, you know, every day that I have a conversation about letting her know how far she's come and what things she's done, you know, genuinely, not like I'm going to blow your head up as far as your ego's this big. Just realistic small things, like you really did a great job putting the dishes away. You know, I remember when you were little, you know, you used to like, this is how much you could do, and then, you know, all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, okay, you know, and it's inviting them to be present to now, not the past.
And not only on just what they do, but on also what they face.
True.
You know, like, you know what? A year ago, you would have reacted to that. You notice you didn't react to that. Look how far you've come.
You're right. You're right. That is part of it too. We actually had that conversation this morning. Did you know that, you know, about a week ago, if I'd said this to you, you'd have been like, ugh!
Yeah.
And she's like, really? Well, yeah, you in a week you've done really well. Great job.
And it shows them they are making progress and they are taking charge of their lives. They are empowering themselves, because what we are here to do is to help them empower themselves. And, you know, we're guardians, we're custodians.
We are.
We're here to prepare them for their journey in life, not to walk it for them. And so the more we can empower them in that strength, the better they're going to walk it. What happened to her siblings?
They got adopted into a wonderful family, and to watch all of them from the time that we started this journey up until now, as the grandparent side of me, I am super, super excited to see how much they've grown. And we even, you know, just like we said, just now, I even tell them, you know what, you have come a long way, because before, you know, like this time ago, this is where you were, and now look at you now. And they look at me, they're like, they take their hands on my face, they go, Nan. I'm like, seriously, you've come a long way, and I'm so super proud of you. Good job.
Yes.
You're doing amazing. And now they're great. They keep in contact with each other. They're a support to each other on their journey, as far as, this is what I'm learning, why don't you try this? And that's the other reason why I want to do this, is because I've noticed these kids, particularly this group of kids, my grandchildren, I've noticed that, and I'm sure it's the same everywhere else, that kids like them, when they get together and have discussions and talk about their journey, that is ever so helpful for them to be a support to each other.
Right.
And there are moments when my daughter has been troubled and had an episode, and I've called her older brother, and he will coach her through it. They will help each other, and it's like, wow, this is great. We need to do something with this information. We need to do something with this learning. Because I know
they're going to be the healers of the future. Because they're being nurtured right now to go through their healing, so they will be the healers of the future. What happened to their parents? Because at some point they're going to want to know, you know, why was mom and dad like that? You know, every child, it doesn't matter who raises them afterwards, they always want to know about their own parents.
Yeah, they do. And we have those discussions now about how it happened and what happened for them, and help them understand choices that they shouldn't be making as they grow up. You know, where is their healing and understanding their parents? I mean, if you want to break the cycle, then you have to change the way that you do things.
Yes.
So helping them understand their, for want of a better phrase, genealogical history, and behaviors will help them to know what paths not to take. And we
Right.
have those discussions openly about, these were your parents, this is what happened, and this is what they experienced, and these are the choices that they made because of their experiences and the dysfunction that came out of their parents not healing themselves.
Right. Yes. I mean, that's the trouble. We see abused children get married and have children, and they love those children, but they ended up in some form or other abusing them. And it's like, but you didn't like it. Why are you doing it to your children? Well, the patterning is there. It hasn't changed. If you don't get in and delete that old patterning and insert a new pattern, they are at some subconscious level going to repeat it.
They will, because it's already there.
It's already there.
Yeah, those principles and those learnings of what they did when they were childhood, unless they go in and fight really hard to change it, it's not going to change.
No.
And I think for me, in my background and what I saw growing up, I realized at 12 that there were certain behaviors I wasn't going to do when I grew up.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to go there because I knew that it didn't feel right. I knew it wasn't right. And that somehow I had to teach myself to not be that person. And when it came to being a parent, it was like, oh, wow. I could immediately see how those things that I thought about at 12 came to a head as an adult and as a parent. It's like, I've got to do something differently.
Right.
I've got to figure out how to change what's in my head so that the outcome for my children isn't the same as what I saw growing up or what I experienced growing up.
Yeah. My mum always used to say to me, I brought my children up the way I want to be brought up. And I know my mum loved me. I know the nurturing was there, but I was a very sickly child. So I spent a lot of time in bed, and I'd see her for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then that was it. You're on your own all day. And then, of course, we're sent to boarding school, which is very traditional in England. And so for a lot of it, it was a feeling of neglect. It wasn't that I know you love me, but why am I not at home? Or why am I not going home at weekends? Why am I the only child at boarding school? And it was just part of their upbringing, but it was also part of their dysfunction that was going on in their own lives, that, they just couldn't kind of cope with the kids being there. So for me, I'm a mush. My heart comes first, and I pour my heart over my kids and everything, So it was, no, they're not going anywhere. No boarding school, nothing. They're going to be here thick and thin. And I've made mistakes. Hell yes, don't we? I mean, because we're navigating each day as it goes. But ultimately, my kids, I've got gray hair. I can say a lot of their names are on it. But they're all in their 30s now, and I'm very proud of them, of who they are and who they've become. Yeah, and the journey that they've taken to get there, and I actually get to see them next week, first time in 3 months. Yay!
Wonderful.
I warned them that there's going to be a lot of hugs, and they can't complain.
There's something that says, about getting a hug from your mom. There's nothing better.
Hugging your kids, I don't care. 6 foot, whatever.
I know, it doesn't matter, but there's nothing like a hug from your mom.
Yeah. Yeah, or hugging your actual kids. It doesn't matter how big they are. It's just it's always that heart-to-heart connect. Oh, it doesn't. They're still my babies.
Yeah,
they're
they
in their
are.
30s. They're still my babies.
Yep, they are. And there's nothing better than that. Nothing warming, nothing more beautiful and heartfelt than just getting together with your kids and having that hug and connecting.
Yeah. And I think what we're realizing as a society right now, that healing is love. But love is not in the head. It comes from the heart. And that so many people shut down their heart, out of pain or mistrust, or never got it ignited. But when we ignite our heart, and I say to people, how do I ignite my heart? And I say, watch the children. Watch them play. Watch the puppies and the kittens. Watch nature and the squirrel running up a tree. Anything that makes you smile. Anything that tugs on the heart, and that is a way of igniting it. Do not deny it. Do not go, I'm tough, I don't need it. Everybody needs love, and everybody needs to ignite their heart. That heart, and I don't want my heart to be broken. A broken heart just shows you how to love somebody else even more later. Don't be afraid of that broken heart. You learn something from each one. And the heart is the key to everything, because if your heart isn't in it, you're
No,
not in it.
no, you're not. You're not. I agree. If your heart's not in it, you're not going to do anything.
No.
I mean, you can see it. I mean, if you're half-hearted, it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I kind of, and then, you look at yourself going, what was that about? Oh, well, I really wasn't in it. But if you are from a soul level and a heart level, like you said, your head comes last.
Yes.
You find that, and it's like you said, it's very true. Your heart will ignite.
Yeah.
And the universe will send you. You have to be open to the messages. You have to be open to the invitation. Yes, realistically, if you want to talk with your head, people, relationship, having heart and getting involved, yes, there's a risk factor involved, but guess what? You can never exchange that experience when you open your heart.
Never.
You can never forget what you had, what you felt. It stays with you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And who would want to give away that opportunity anyway? I wouldn't.
No. And it's not just a love of a partner or children.
No.
Or love of that, it's when you step into that love of life.
Mm-hmm.
I love who I am doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
I love the experience of my everyday, and is every day good? No, but the bad is just, it's just a hiccup today. It doesn't define the day, because there's too much love here, right?
Yeah.
And it's soppy, it's syrupy, but love does conquer all.
It does. And it's a really great, wonderful feeling when you feel that way. It's amazing. A hard day is like a hard day, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You have all these other minutes left. The clock doesn't stop because you had a hard moment, and you're cancelling out the rest of your day because there was a little pebble in your shoe.
Right.
When you really think about it, it's just a little pebble in your shoe. It's slightly annoying, but what you do with that to help move you forward to the rest of the day, to enjoyment, to empowerment, to living life, to loving you, to loving what's out there. Oh my goodness, it's a glorious feeling. I mean, I see that in you, on your face. It shines. Like there's a light in you because you feel that. I mean, I'm not saying you as in general you, but you personally, Sarah, I see this light in you.
And
it's like the backdrop behind me.
Yes.
That iridescent feeling of the glow of the sun, the warmth, the gentleness, that's in you. And I see it and I feel it. Even though we're doing this podcast right now, what you bring, I can feel. And we've never met face to face, but
no.
You resonate that when you're at that place. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing.
No.
It can be felt.
And we've got to understand frequency of love and good vibrations isn't just person to person. It is something that's in the air. It goes through the wires, through the wavelength. It is a frequency that travels. When you've got wireless, you've got cell phones, you've got things. It all is fiber optics. You have fiber optics underneath your skin that send messages from your brain throughout your body. And when you talk about the pebble in the shoe, maybe that's just an indication to put your feet up today. Listen to the message. It's like, don't get hung up on something. I have an illness now and again that says to me, okay, I'm sorry, you're not going to do anything today. This is a day of rest. And I've learned not to argue, give myself a day of rest. And then the next day I can get back out there again. So learn to listen, allow. It's not about pushing through. It's about allowing, because every time you allow, it's got a reason. Everything has a reason.
You're right. It's very much that way now that I think of it. And I think that's probably a great philosophy to teach young kids.
Yes. They can have bad days, but that doesn't mean it's the end of time.
No, it's not the end of time. But
it's time to nurture yourself.
Yeah. That's the key.
Yes.
It's teaching. I think if we could, as part of facilitating this respite care, is teaching kids to listen to their bodies, to listen to their soul and to their heart, and to see if they can figure out what the message is. Like, the pebble in the shoe, you said, maybe that's about putting your feet up.
Yeah.
That's the message.
Yep.
And sometimes, we have to figure out how we can teach our kids to do it. I think that's really important. As I look at alternatives and promptings for kids like them in coaching and appearances, parents have to understand the message and give the message to the kids, but we have to teach our children to be intuitive to the messages that they're being given as well, and that there's something they need to be doing, instead of second guessing, or that they don't have a right
Right.
to actually think or provide that information.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Because we're teaching them to be in tune with their own heart.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do not respect the message that's coming from their heart, we're being dictatorial rather than allowing. So this isn't, oh, I gave birth to you, I can take you out. No, this is I'm here to love you, to ignite you, and if your heart tells you this is what you need to do today, then that's fine. Now, of course, a teenager or a kid will kind of go, oh yes, my heart's telling me I can't do the dishes today. Well, that's not the same thing,
No, it's not.
But when those days are there, you can feel it vibrationally. Do you just need a me day today?
Yeah.
What do you need today to make you feel better? And that is honoring them. It's placing value on them, and they go, you know what, I was given that choice. I was given that choice. And it's respect. And if you teach them that respect, they will live in that respect.
They will, and then they'll break the cycle.
Yes. Man, that cycle needs to be broken. Oh my God, there's a lot of cycles that need to be broken. Right
there is. There's dozens and dozens of them, but that's one of many
that
you could get them to work on, because I think parenting is so much more different than what we knew traditionally, and we have to let go of those strings. We have to formulate.
We're not going to see traditional. We're going to see, as you see, gay people. We're going to see maybe two single mums sharing a home, raising kids. We're going to see grandparents raising kids. This definition that it has to be man and woman and picket fence and all of that, sorry, it's obsolete. It is too containing. And we've got to understand love has no boundaries. We don't want to hold it into a canister. We want to set it free. So whatever the family dynamics looks like, who cares, as long as the core is love.
Yes, agree. And very much agree. The core has to be that way.
Yeah. And you stepped up to be loving to your granddaughter, to be there for her, despite what she's going through. And it's now your drive, not only to, the need that you need, the need that she needs, but seeing the need that others need. So to prevent anything like this happening to other children, or at least being able to have the tools to manage it. And it's so needed right now. And it is, as I've said, it's not your politicians or your highfalutin professors of this. It is people on the front lines. To see the difference, that are making the difference. So I'm going to be happy to introduce you to a few people who have got foundations and nonprofits, and just start the conversation. You never know where it could go.
You don't know.
You don't. Right. And the thing is, you have a blueprint, you have an idea of what you want to see. But if you go with the flow and you allow, it will manifest as to what it's meant to be.
Yep, it will.
So that's wonderful.
I agree.
It's wonderful. And totally just, kindness begets kindness, for goodness sake. You want people to treat you with respect and kindness, treat them. Don't wait for them to prove kindness to you. Get off that.
No.
And kindness is a smile. It's an opening the door. It's a how are you today? It's so many little things, kindness. And it takes you out of yourself, and you will find that the response from kindness is something that will start chiseling away at your heart and opening up that crack, and you will start to really feel good about giving kindness and just receiving the gratitude of acknowledgement from other people.
Yeah, it does. It very much does as a ripple effect, that when you start doing it and living your life that way, it intrinsically becomes a part of who you are and what you do, and you don't think about it, you just do it.
Right.
Because it's an autonomic response to how you decided to live your life.
Yes. Do you know Randy McNeely? The kindness?
Yes, I've been following him, and he's going to be one of my features on my blog, Kindness Grows Kindness.
Wonderful.
As a hero. So
yes. I know. I interviewed him, and he's wonderful. I mean, again, person coming from the heart, and that's why my heart keeps being overflown, is because I'm interviewing people like you who come from the heart, and that's what we need to step into. When we step into our own hearts, we see what we're here to do, we see what is needed, and then we step up to change it up. But it all comes down to us. Don't wait for someone else. It's you. Your life is yours. What can you bring to the table? What do you need to do? right? So,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me,
You're okay.
not COVID, just a cough. So, will you please tell people how they can get hold of you?
They can find me on Facebook. There's an Unsung Heroes page, Unsung Extraordinary Heroes. I'm on Instagram, Unsung Extraordinary Heroes. You can find me on LinkedIn, Michelle Harwood Lang. And if you would like to reach out via email, my email is Michelle, Michelle, .lang, Lange, art, ART, #1 @gmail.com. If you want to send me a text and you have an interest in being a part of the team that we're building, my phone number is area code 626, telephone number 417-1344.
You know, it's back to the village we need to go.
It is.
You know, it's back to community. You know, my 65 years of living, you know, I finally got the message. Community, heart-driven, everybody stepping up with their beautiful instrument. Let's make this chorus, get people to dance. And it's people stepping up, like yourself. You see a need, you know what needs to happen out there. Now it's the invitation. It's the invitation out there to everyone else and saying, can you see my picture? And if you can see my picture, do you want to be a part of it? And how can we put it together in a way that it all slots together nicely to serve our communities? Because once you set something up in your own community, this now can be duplicated everywhere else. And this is part of the solution that we're seeing to the root of the problem in the policing, where the community is there for the people that have mental problems, physical problems, you know, just emotional problems, instead of the cops turning up with creating a different problem. It's the community that needs to step up for the community, and we can only do that when we come together.
Agree. We have to let the tribe, our communities, help get back to that basic level of it takes a tribe to raise a child, and it takes a family to be inclusive in a community. The drive comes from the family, the individual level, then the family, and then the community. And we can't do anything different unless we start to speak up and not be afraid and go roll our sleeves up and have a go at it. I mean, this is totally outside my wheelhouse, outside my comfort zone, but guess what? I want to be uncomfortable. I want to have a voice, because I'm at this place where the universe is saying, you've got a calling and you've waited 2 years to take care of this. It's time that you stepped up, and it's now.
But you had to wait for the circumstances. We're in that shake-up of stepping up. So, you know, people now can see the vision a whole lot more.
You're right. It is all about timing.
It is.
Agree. And because there were other pieces in the puzzle, you're right. It was all about Legos, because there were other pieces of the puzzle that were missing at the time I started writing about this project, about putting the research together, about making my thoughts and my feelings and learning more about the issue and if there was really a solution that needed to be found. And now we're at a place, yes, you're right. It is very much so a shake-up, a wake-up.
Yeah, we know things need to be changed up. We know we're a part of the change, but until we step up, we can't change things up. So that's where we're at, folks. So if you feel invited to step up in any way, whether it's just an idea, maybe you're a structuralist, you know, maybe a businessman who wants to put some money, time, or expertise behind it. Maybe you're a person who has a skill that would love to share. The whole thing is just reach out. Reach out. You have no idea how anybody fits until you put the pieces there and see if they slot together. Conversations need to start. And from this conversation comes inspiration, which then becomes actionism. So please reach out to Michelle and just start the conversation. You know, where, you know, it's there, it's really needed right now. This is not something that we need to put off or talk about anymore. It's now time. Is how do we make it happen?
Agree. I'm willing to have a conversation. So come have a conversation with me about this and join my passion to make this happen.
Yes, yes, it's a wonderful idea. It's one I totally agree with. It's a vision I've had for myself for many, many, many years. I'm seeing other people looking at doing it. So this person's got a vision, that person's got a vision. How about you put your visions together and see what happens? Right?
It's exciting, right?
Yeah, it's
Agree.
exciting times. And
It
this
is.
is the time where, people prefer to put their money behind a solution, right? So this is
Right.
it.
This is it.
Thank you, Michelle. It's been wonderful having you on.
Thank you for having me.
And
I am overjoyed, and I'm speechless, even though I did a lot of talking, but this has been a wonderful experience. You are an amazing woman, and
thank you.
what you bring to the table is incredible. Thank you for having me.
I mean, thank you for stepping up, for caring about a life and seeing what's needed, and for being an advocate for it, and then really wanting to take the action to make it happen. We're, as I said, it's no more talk. It's now action. What are we going to do about it? And you're stepping up. You've got the invitation going. The stamp is on. Off we go. Right?
Off we go.
Off
Yep.
we go.
Off we go.
All right, folks. So how are you going to make a difference? What's excited you about this podcast? Where do you feel you fit? Is it just an inquiry? Is it a solution? Is it an idea that you've got? Something you want to get behind in whatever way, reach out to Michelle. And let's just get the ball rolling, folks. Get the ball rolling, because now is when we need it. Not tomorrow, but we needed it a lot of yesterdays. But now, today is the day that we step into actionism. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows, and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.